Hey, what's up, Closer Nation? I'm excited to talk to you today. I'm going to take a step out of the whole sales thing, but what I'm going to talk to you about and teach you in this video today, it applies in the workspace, right? The people you hang out in the cubicle area with or the water cooler with. It also applies at the people you hang out with, your religious temples, things of that nature. Anybody you associate with, the networking events, the people that you have as your referral partners. So this is universal, but I'm going to talk about personal contacts today because here's the thing. I believe in order to see success, no matter what it is, whether we're talking success financially or success at home with your family or success in being a leadership for your community, whatever you define success as, and that's completely up to you. But I believe if you're going to see success, you have to surround yourself with successful people. And oftentimes, we're not born into success. Probably anybody watching this was never born into royalty, and very few people watching this were born into any kind of amount of money. I know, myself included. In the neighborhood that I grew up, my parents weren't successful. Their friends were not super successful. The parents in the neighborhood that we lived in obviously were not successful. So I grew up without a real true picture of what success looked like. And I found myself getting outside of school and everything else, I started wanting to make a change in my life. And one of the lessons that I learned was how to surround yourself with different people. You see, my 7th grade principal, I'd always get in trouble, man. I got caught with drugs in school one time and shit like that. And he would say, Ryan, you hang out with rattlesnakes, you're gonna get bit. And I got bit several times, you know, and I could go into all this stories and everything else. You can read my book on Amazon called Hardcore Closer. It kind of tells you my life story. It's entertaining as hell. But here's the thing. Is I realized the single biggest thing that had an impact on my life was who I surrounded myself with. And when I surrounded myself with people who, when I said I was going to be an entrepreneur or be a salesperson and be successful, they didn't know what success looked like. So they said, man, you better play it safe and get a job. And I listened to them when they said, when I said, I'm not going to go and I've got a GED, I'm not going to finish school, I'm not going to go to college, I'm going to go to work and I'm going to gain experience and become an expert. They said, you should go to college. It's worth the debt, right? None of these people were successful. They had just been programmed. That's all that I knew. That's all that they knew. It wasn't their fault. They were taught for generations to be that way, and none of us had escaped average. You see, because everything on this planet is trying to make you become average, right? If you win some, you lose some. There's a balancing game that we're consistently playing. It's trying to keep you average, but those of us who choose not to regress, right? Because you win, you relax. You go fast, you slow down and catch your breath, right? There's always a balance. Those of us who figured out how to gain the endurance to keep going and pushing, those are the people, the chosen people who get to actually experience success in this life. I know many of you watching this are people who go above and beyond. You don't take a win and then say it's okay, we can take a loss now because we win. You're not looking for that balance. You're looking to have the world chasing you and carrying it on your shoulders. But the problem is you have that burning desire inside of you because the way that your DNA is wired, the way the universe put you here for a mission, but nobody around you understands what it is that you're trying to do. You talk to your friends and they're like, dude, I don't know, man. I work at, you know, the local fast food place. Or you talk to, if you're young, that's what a lot of your friends are doing, right? Or I work at the mall still. Or you talk to your friends who are like, I work in retail. I do this, that, and the other. Or I'm working at Walmart. Or I've got an internship where they're paying me $10 an hour over here. It's like, we look around at our friends and they think they're on the path to success, but what they've done is they've got a college degree and then they've taken that break and got a comfortable job. They didn't get a college degree, start a business, keep pushing that fear and keep pushing that next level. So we look and even though what might seem successful to us is still average, because that's what everything on this world, everything on this planet is trying to do, is keep you average and keep things balanced. You have to break that balance. Well, one of the things that I learned to do at a young age, like I said, to get away from the rattlesnakes, is surround myself with people who were smart. And see, I started off in the same position maybe you are right now. I didn't have any money, nobody to mentor me, nobody to teach me anything, and it was 2003. It was 2003. Back then, MySpace didn't exist, Facebook didn't exist. These things, if they were, I didn't know about them, so it's not like they were common practice or things that you saw everywhere. And so I had to actually use this thing called the internet, and you had to actually use just websites. If you didn't know the URL, Google wasn't even really a big thing back then. Google was still in its infancy. And I looked up the local church, and I called a guy from church who I cross-referenced to see his email address was a storage facility, and I cross-referenced his email address with the URL at the end of his email address, and I found his storage facility, found out that he owned the place, and I wanted to choose him as a mentor. I reached out to him. I told him I was new to the church, questioning my faith, right, which I was at the time. And now, just to be clear, now I don't go to church at all. This is a long time ago. But it was somebody from the church who was willing to mentor me, and that was how I struck up that first relationship with a complete stranger. He wanted to help me out. Turns out he wasn't even a minister. He was just somebody helping with the church there. And we became an awesome line. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have drinks with him tomorrow after work is over. So that's awesome. We still have this relationship all these years later. But I had to take inventory of the people that I was surrounding myself with, and I had to break free of all of them. These days, I don't even talk to my folks, and I know that's a little extreme, but it just wasn't worth it to me to have them around in my life because they weren't adding value. And so I'm going to show you something that's very scary. If you choose to go down this rabbit hole, you will break free and be liberated and feel better and have an understanding of what you need to do, because I'm going to tell you at the end of this video, there's no excuses why you can't surround yourself with nothing but winners. And people might say, well, you need to surround yourself so you have a balance. Fuck that. The whole entire planet is trying to keep you average and trying to keep you in that balance. That's what balanced people say. You're better than that. What you have to do is you have to be able to break through the balance and be able to keep pushing forward. So I'm going to give you this equation. You're going to make a list. So take your little notebook, and if you got fancy stick figure skills like I do, then by all means, buckaroo, do what the hell you got to do. But look, you're going to write the names of the five people, your five favorite people that you spend the most time with. We're talking about on the phone, through the text message. We're talking about at work, at the water cooler. Now, you can separate this. You can make this the 5 people on social media, the 5 people in real life, the 5 people in your office, but you need to take the 5 people that you communicate with the most. And you need to draw the value score equation on them. Let's say in this example, we've got Tiffany, Mike, Bob, Jen, and Steve. And so I went ahead, and these are nobody in particular, just names that are out there, unless it's you, Tiffany, Mike, Bob, Jen, or Steve, you know what I'm saying? And so anyway, I have driven this value score. So what I've got to do is first of all, I've got to be 100% honest with myself. What does Tiffany, if say Tiffany's my girlfriend, what does she bring to the equation? Well, she's maybe constantly nagging at me, and she's overly jealous and telling me I should go get a job and put a ring on it and all these maybe things that's really putting a lot of stress in my life. But the thing that she brings me is sex, right? It's easier. Oftentimes, guys, girls, you know this too. Oftentimes, it's easier to endure the nagging for that one awesome sensation than it is to go out and hunt to find that sensation. In other words, because that's what the average is, right? It's averaging out. The sex is good, but the bitching is also fucking, it's more than you can stand, right? And it brings you to average, and you get scared to push through and find some. So you have to really, and then we're talking about the score on the bottom is where does she rank financially between 1 and 10? 1 being a welfare recipient and 10 being a multimillionaire. Well, she's 4. So let's say that she's probably someone who earns $30,000 to $40,000 a year. Average income, she's been average because that's what everything on this planet is trying to do to you. Same thing for Mike. What does he bring to the equation? Well, Mike, every time I complain, because that's the only reason I talk to Mike, is we complain to each other and he gives me empathy. When I complain, he says, yeah, man, you're right. I'm on your team. When I post on Facebook and I say some mean shit, Mike's the guy that's like, yeah, man, mean shit. Yeah, he's not adding any value to my life. He's just an echo chamber and giving me empathy. But then when I look at Mike's financial situation, Mike makes less than $20,000 a year. So Mike's a 3. You see, because I'm trying to figure out the emotion and then how they're successful financially. So what successful emotionally they bring to the equation in our relationship, and then how successfully financially they are in their life. Because if you're watching this, you're worried about your finances, probably more than just about anything else. It's important, right? Love is great, but it won't get you on a damn bus, you know? You've got to make money on this planet. It ranks right up there with air and food and water. Next thing we've got Bob. Bob is somebody who's different. Let's say Bob's the guy from the church that owns the storage facility. And he brings mentorship to the equation, right? So he can teach me some things that I didn't know before. Nowadays, you can align yourselves with people like me or other thought leaders out there in the industry like Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk or some of those guys that you can connect with us on social media, and you can get led by us without even having a personal relationship. But you can still get the information just like what you're absorbing in this video now. Back then in those days, I had to meet people in person. So what I'm saying is there's no excuse for you not to have someone like Bob in your life. But let's say mentorship, and he's a 7. So Bob makes a six-figure, maybe a multiple six-figure a year income. So he's qualified, obviously, to give information for me, right? If that's just me over here, right? Right. Say Jen, the same thing. What does she bring to the equation? Maybe Jen is just somebody that I have like a platonic friendship with. Okay, and these are, again, hypothetical scenarios here, but let's say that I'm trying to find success and Jen's somebody that I confide in a lot, but Jen's telling me to play it safe every chance I get because she's really smart and is an art major and all these other things that really smart people are that I don't get, and she's telling me to play it safe and how she's so happy with her $15 an hour job. But what she does bring is she brings tranquility to the relationship. But if we look at her financial situation, she's been averaged out by the fact that she only earns $15,000, $20,000 a year, because that's all a position in an art major pays for most places, right? You just sit around and collect basically minimum wage. And then we can talk about Steve in the bottom here. He just agrees with everything I say. He's got my back on all my social media and everything else, but that's because he sits at home and collects welfare and has nothing better to do, right? And you look at yourself as a whole. You're over here trying to get to success, right? You're over here trying to get to success, but what happens is that these people over here, these people in your life are weighing you down. They're trying to bring you back to average while you're trying to take off and go up. And what happens is as they bring you down, they pull you back with them. It's like crabs in a bucket. You're trying to escape. You're trying to break free. You make it to the top and keep pushing, and they're trying to pull you down. So what you have to do is you have to truly evaluate these relationships. And just like you're willing to lose a sale, you have to be willing to let somebody go. And if you think about it, the human connection, when I'm going to get really weird with you for a second right here, and it's going to probably piss some of you off, but we have a false sense of ownership and belongingship and loyalty to people that we shouldn't. Oftentimes we are so self-deprecating that we will feel loyalty to people who treat us like shit, and then we will in turn treat people like shit who we should feel loyalty for, who are loyal to us. And we usually have these emotions backwards because we hit upper limits and think that we don't deserve this stuff. I know this is outside of the sales stuff I normally talk about, right? Who knew? But here's the thing. You can't escape that. If you think about it, the connection you have between, they're not bringing value. They are takers. And they are relying on you to continue contributing value to them, and they are taking that value from you. What if you aligned yourself with people and these scores were doubled, these results were doubled? All of a sudden, you're connected to all these people like I named before that you can connect with on social media, and you're watching their videos, you're reading their books, you're getting involved in their stuff, you're getting their mindset, and maybe you can't even connect with them or have a personal relationship with them, but guess what? The followers that are connected with them, you all of a sudden get to connect with them. You find people in your area that are into similar things. You create a network group. You got a whole new set of friends. Those are things you couldn't do just 10 or 15 years ago, but are completely possible and completely doable within a month's time in today's modern society. So here's my challenge for you, and what I'm asking you to do now that you've watched this entire video. It's take the time to write down those 5 people and give the value score equation to them. What do they score a 1 to 10 financially, and what value do they bring to the table in your life? And ask yourself honestly, can you afford not to cut that relationship, but can you afford to keep it? Hey, if you enjoyed this, if you learned a lesson from it, make sure you share this, and also check out a bunch of other stuff I've got over at hardcorecloser.com. Thanks for watching, closers.